There's the breeze. There is a money shot of Adams. Good morning, welcome to Cooley Outdoors. I'm your host, Brandon Scott, and today is a solo day. It is supposed to be day 2 of hike week, but it's day 1 of hike week. Adulting sucks. So even when I had to take a week off from work, stuff still gets in the way. And well, stuff has doubly gotten in the way. So this is like plan C at the moment. What are we doing for plan C? Well, we are taking the Pratt Lake and the Mount Defiance trails from the Pratt Lake trailhead here at exit 47 of Snoqualmie Pass, and we are going to Rainbow and Island Lakes in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. So why do I say that this is plan C? Well, technically plan A was supposed to be on Monday, because today is Wednesday. So on Monday, my father, mother, and I were supposed to go do Mount Pilchuck, Lake Kelsema, Big Four Ice Caves, and Barlow Point, so going up the Mountain Loop Highway, the more popular front side. But adult things got in the way. Long story short, Spree and I are trying to buy a house, and there was a snafu there, so instead of going and hiking on Monday, I had to take care of that on Monday. And then today, so those are now being tentatively moved to Friday, so those will be technically, hopefully, the next set of videos after today's videos. So that's tentatively now Friday, which is fine, because Friday I didn't have a good plan of attack. Friday was the only day where I didn't have a real good plan of attack, so, you know, that's fine. And then today, originally today's hike was supposed to be Lake Caroline on the other side of the Alpine Lakes Wilderness near Leavenworth, but when I woke up this morning and looked at the updated forecast, it's supposed to be 101 degrees in Leavenworth with a 40% chance of thunderstorms after 11 a.m. So, no. So today, instead, we are doing Rainbow Lake, Island Lake, and when we get back down, there's a decent chance I'll go park over at the big parking lot and go look at Franklin Falls, since I haven't been to Franklin Falls in the summer, and I have grand ideas of once I go see certain locations in all 4 seasons, making a compilation video of what each location looks like in all 4 seasons. Anyway, we can talk about that more. So we've already got other videos to tag for this, so let's show you the map first of all. So here's I-90, Snoqualmie Pass is right over there, but I'm not looking at that. So we're parked here at exit 47 along I-90, just mere yards off the interstate. You can probably hear car noise in the background. And it is a shared trailhead, so there are multiple trails coming off from here. The one thing we have done from this trailhead, which is part of the reason why I'm parked here and not doing it from either other spots you could theoretically do it, is because I've already done this trail up to the saddle to going down to Pratt Lake. I will tag that video right there too. So from the saddle, instead of dropping down to Pratt Lake, you continue on to what is then becomes the Mount Defiance trail for another mile or so, and then you get to Rainbow Lake, which is along the main trail, and then afterwards I'll backtrack and go up the spur trail to Island Lake, and then come back down. Your other option is you could start from the Talapas Lake trail and come up and then hike out of between Talapas and Alalia Lakes and around. Or your third option is you can start the Ira Spring Trail, go past Mason Lake, go past the side shot to Mount Defiance, and then continue on. The reason I'm not doing either one of those is A, I haven't been up those trailheads yet, so I'd like to save the exploration factor for when I bring other people. Secondly, Talapas Lake and Alalia Lake are short but distractions themselves, so I'd rather, you know, save that for a springtime or something when it's better, versus it's going to be, even though there's a Wednesday and there's not a ton of people parked here, that's probably still going to be mobbed. And then same thing with Ira Spring. That I don't remember, they may have enlarged in that parking lot, because I have been there once to go up Bandera Mountain, but only up to Bandera Mountain, so I haven't gone to Mason Lake or Mount Defiance. I want to save that hike for Nash and other people to come along, and then you could spur off to there. So there's really the reason is because I've already been on this portion of the trail. Alright, so there's Rex parked at the parking lot. It is a fairly large parking lot, but don't be fooled. This fills up quickly on busy weekends. It is not even 8 o'clock yet, but if you're to be not getting here till 8 o'clock on a weekend, I'm just going to close the pooper door because it's a proper thing to do. So here's the trailhead. But anyway, if you get here this late on a weekend, you ain't getting a spot. Here's the big wilderness board. So we are starting here, mile plus to Granite Junction, 2 miles of that junction around, and then we go mile and a half to that junction, and then Rainbow and Island, and then back. So yeah, I mean, there's multiple options. Like I said, we've done that to Pratt Lake, which I already tagged. Sometime in the future I'll tag when we get to this junction to Granite, and then we'll continue on. What is the latest? Pratt Lake, great shape. Few logs cross trail, you across several streams of the lake, but all easy. Da 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 da. That was back a month ago. And about a week ago to Granite, snow free, be warm, sick. All right, rolling. So yes, this is a very popular area. You can also snowshoe to, I think you can also snowshoe to Granite Mountain, but you got to be really crazy to do that because it's a certified death march in summer, and then going up in the winter and in avalanche slopes, heck that. Picnic table there, Rex is right there. Like I said, I've been on most of this trail before. Not the most exciting of things, so I'll pretty much just show off the couple of junctions we will get to, and then when we get to me Virgin Trail, we'll videotape better. So first, what is it, 1.2 miles or so to the Granite Mountain junction, so we will see you there. All right, so after 0.9 miles, as you can see, we have entered the wilderness, which I thought for sure on the maps it was higher up on the ridge lines and after the Granite Mountain junction, but I guess not. The Granite Mountain junction shouldn't be too much further, so ta-da, wilderness. So now theoretically everything beyond this has been not touched by saw blade, which some of this part I doubt. I bet some of this has still been touched by saw blade, but at least not since 1964, 67, 68, one of those dates. That's when the Alpine Lakes Wilderness was created, so it's been a good 60 years now. So away we go. Next stop, Granite Mountain Junction. All right, so the trail guides say about 1.2 to 1.25 miles. My watch and iHike is telling me 1.1, but here is the Granite Mountain Junction. Granite Mountain is a certified death march, gaining just under 4,000 feet in about 5 miles up yonder that way, but it's supposed to afford you absolutely stupendous views, and is a real bun burner, and it's supposed to be a more entertaining, if slightly less accessible and longer practice route for Rainier versus Mount Si. Reason Mount Si is more popular is because it's a half an hour yet closer to Seattle for the parking lot, and I think Si is only 3,000 feet maybe, and like 3 miles, so it's a bit steeper and shorter. But if you're looking for the longevity burn, that's your bet. Eventually we'll come back and do it, and I'll tag it right there, and that's probably gonna be a me and Ash and Dad hike, or a me and Ash hike, or hell, it might even be a me solo hike, but that will definitely be starting at the butt crack of dawn, so that I don't die in the heat on the upper slopes when I'm poofing and tooting and slobbing about. Anyway, Pratt Lake and other things, this direction, away we go. All right, we're about 2.5 miles in. This trail looking back down. You can hear the interstate, which is about 1,500 vertical feet below us, since we're about 3,200 feet up. I remember this being a scenic portion, and I really probably should have started the video down there 30 seconds ago, 45 seconds ago, but oh well. We've got probably another 3/4 of a mile or a mile-ish, about 500 feet of elevation to go up to get to the junction that would drop you down to Olali and Talapas Lakes if you so choose, or if you'd rather start at that trailhead and bag all of the lakes. You could start from there and come up to this point too. I think it saves you a bunch of mileage, but I think you have to gain more elevation, so maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look actually. But I believe this is the chosen route because it's A, you got a bigger parking lot, and B, is an overall less steep trail, and most of the traffic is going to be conversely heading up to Granite Mountain versus if you start down at the Talapis and Halali trailhead. Those are both easy lakes to get to. I think it's a 5-mile round trip to get to the further the two lakes. So gobs and gobs and gobs of people are there. So I'll let this run for another minute or so just because it is a scenic portion. Now that we're starting to get up higher into the elevations. All right, so after, we'll call it 3 1/4 miles, we reached the junction with the trail. I don't remember what the name of it is. I don't think it's called the Halali Lake or the Talapis Lake. It might be called one of those connector trails that'll drop you down to those two lakes, or if you prefer to start there, it'll bring you up from those two lakes onto the Pratt Trail. And then you can turn left and go to Pratt Lake or to where I'm going. But here's your intersection. Pratt Lake straight ahead. The lakes we're going to today, straight ahead. And down that way, Talapis and Halali Lakes and their trailhead. It's been an hour and a half, 3 1/4 miles. And we've gained just about 1,900 feet in elevation. Versus, I don't know what the distance and elevation numbers are there, but it's a different direction if you so choose to want to do that. If and when I eventually do the short and easy hike to Talapis and Halali Lakes, I'll probably come up this direction just to bang out those numbers and be a completionist and say I did. But I'm going to have a slurp of water and then we're going to continue that direction. All right, we should be getting near the saddle. But I wanted to point this out. Our first real views of the hike, looking down at, I believe, Talapis Lake. And it's a nice, very pretty lake down there. Doesn't look like there's a ton of access along the shoreline. I can see some logs and stuff at the outlet of the lake, but other than that, not a ton of access. As you can see, as we're getting up here in elevation above the 4,000 foot mark, it's starting to thin out and getting bare grass and vine maple and more stuff opening up. At some point, yes, we will go do that. Go down to Talapis and Halali Lakes. But that's a different hike. This is now. And it appears I've just about caught somebody. This will only be like the third person I have seen all day. There have been 2 people coming downhill of all things, so they've already gone either to the saddle or to Pratt Lake and coming back down, which good for them. Neither one of them looked like they were backpacking. They were both geared like day hikers, so they hit the trail much earlier than I did, obviously. But here shortly we'll get to the Pratt saddle and then we'll be on new to me trail. So hi-ho silver away. Alright, so a little over 2 hours and 4 1/3 miles later, we have reached the saddle, Pratt Saddle. Pratt Lake Trail goes down that way, which you can go to Pratt Lake, and then hang a right and go down to Lower Tusahuchi Lake and eventually Malacqua Lake, which is what the sign says. Or you can continue on this direction like we're going to Island Lake, and then Rainbow Lake, and beyond that would be Lake Kula Kula, Mason Lake, down the Ira Spring Trail to a trailhead, or up to Mount Defiance and out to a different trailhead that direction. And then that is which the way we came. Now somewhere supposed to be nearby here, it might be down that way more. There's supposed to be a good view of Pratt Lake, but this is all new trail to me. Obviously, I will, if I haven't yet, I will have tagged the Pratt Lake hike that I did a couple summers ago. Here's some spent bear grass. If you want to catch bear grass, you got to be up here probably a month ago to catch it when it's blooming. Doesn't look like it was a high bloom year anyway, so you wouldn't have missed out on much. But yeah, the hiking books, depending on which one you see, says 7 to just go to that saddle and back for views, which has got to be nearby here if you're just going to the saddle and back. It says 7.5 to 8 miles. Well, both my devices are saying somewhere between 4 1/4 and 4 1/3, so it's more like 8.5 miles. So those are full of crap. And by my guesstimations, got about another mile and about 400 feet to go up to the true high point of the hike to get us into the top plateau where these next chunk of lakes live, all being Island and Rainbow, which we'll visit today. Other lakes that are a little harder to visit would be Blazer, Kula Kula lakes, and then coming from different trailhead, you can get to Mason Lake. You can also get to Island and Island Lake from the Mason Lake Ira Spring trailhead, but you know, half dozen one, 6 of another, probably at that point. So theoretically, there hasn't been that much video shot so far, probably about 20 minutes. And this last mile or so with the two lakes, there should be another 20-ish minutes or so video, because this is all new trail to me. If you want to see what that trail looks like in more detail, go watch the Pratt Lake hike, because I didn't need to video it before. It was, and it's not a terrible trail by any means. It's just a slog, a bit of a slog, and there's not a ton to look at. The forest is pretty, but that's pretty much what it is. It's a forest. There's not a lot of views. That's Pratt Mountain back over there, I believe. No trails up to the top. Would be nice, but I don't think there's necessary. I'm seeing if I get a peekaboo view of Rainier, but it doesn't look like I'm high enough. So yeah, we'll continue. And the next thing we'll reach will be the spur trail that'll go to Island Lake, which I think I want to do that last, because that's the bigger and more exciting lake. So we'll go there and we'll have lunch there afterwards. And this trail supposed to run pretty much right along Rainbow Lake. So we'll go down to Rainbow Lake, have a snack, read book, set up GoPro to shoot Rainbow Lake for half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever. And then I'll backtrack, go to Island Lake, have lunch, shoot video there, maybe go for a swim, maybe do fishing at either one of these lakes, and then head back down into Rex. And if I still have energy, we'll go to Franklin Falls. But that will be then. This is now. Somebody thought it was funny to put in a whole bunch of mini switchbacks here, even though the saddle to the lakes is pretty much dead even elevation wise. So there must be some gnarly cliffs below me, because we've just had some, I said about a half a dozen in total mini switchbacks. What I mean by that is you'll make your hairpin walk 50 feet maybe, then go back the other direction. Big old fat bumblebee working the loop in over. You're fine. I'm not trying to harass you. You're fine. Don't land on me and sting me, though. See? Switch back over. Views are getting bigger, though. Marineer's over there. It's now behind the shoulder of this peak, but it's barely visible in the haze. Today's a warm and muggy day because there's supposed to be thunderstorms tonight, and hopefully it'll rain enough and be windy enough to blow this haze out and reset the sky clarity. And hopefully the thunderstorms doesn't start too many large wildfires, although we do need fires in the forest. Contrary to people tell you, YouTube, fires are good, fires are needed. Problem is, we haven't had enough fires in the last 150 years, so everything needs to burn ridiculously bad. But I'm too tired for that conversation. Alright, after going up a whole bunch of tight little ridiculous switchbacks, I think we're either going downhill or at least coasting over onto the plateau where these lakes are located. Down that direction, roughly 200,000 or roughly 2,000 feet in elevation, is Talapas Lake. So that upper lake was Olali Lake. So we should be getting close to our destinations here soon, or at least the trail junction for the spur trail to go to Island Lake, and then we'll go find a spot at Rainbow Lake to hang out, hopefully in the shade. This trail is definitely less used and less maintained, but that's okay. All right, after 5 3/4 miles and 3 hours, we have reached the Rainbow and we've reached the Island Lake Spur Junction. So Island Lake is going to be about a 1/4 mile to the left, and coming up here in a few short 100 yards, I believe, we'll be getting to the shores of Rainbow Lake, and we'll find somewhere, hopefully along the eastern shore or the southern shore, to hang out so I can be in the shade. Wow. That trail gets fainter yet. It's not impossible yet, but I think people's main attraction is to go to the bigger Island Lake, but that's okay. So I'm betting between that junction, picas are yelling at me. So I'm betting between that junction back there and Mason Lake, the far edge of Mason Lake. There's not a lot of traffic here, which is cool. I mean, this is sweet. I love being on trails that are seldomly walked. So we'll saunter this direction for a bit. There's a camp there. Looks like a nice camp. And somewhere here, fairly soon, that's what bear grass looks like when it's blooming, by the way. Somewhere in here fairly soon, we should run into Rainbow Lake. And then we'll begin our backtrack. Oh, I see Rainbow Lake, and it doesn't look like it's much of a lake. It looks like it's more of a swamp than a lake, which means we may not be hanging up here nearly as long as I thought we would. It's not bad, actually. Doesn't look like I'm going to get much in the way of shade. But, Wheel. Will that be Rainbow Lake? I guess let's continue cruising this direction. See if we find ourselves a better spot to hang out. Maybe tuck under a tree and enjoy the lake for a bit. I wasn't expecting this to be amazing, but would like to be able to at least hang out, shoot video of the lake for a bit, and hang out in the shade. We're moving on to the grand prize of Island Lake. I guess we'll see what we find. Alright, so this looks like this is probably the best spot. Got some larger trees shaded in here. And looks like we can go sit in the back of this hemlock here. And maybe out on the rock. Oh. 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 This isn't bad at all. I would like some shade, so I'll probably sit there. I have no idea what the fishing is like in here, but it doesn't look like it'd be great without getting out somewhere. But I will probably set a GoPro on this rock. The bitches are thick and large. Good thing I have bug spray in my fucking backpack. Set the GoPro here, looking that way, and I'm gonna go hide where that chipmunk is sitting in the shade of that hemlock, I think. Yeah, we'll call that good. We'll call this good. Welcome to Rainbow Lake. How much battery does this got? 20%. All right, so say goodbye to Rainbow Lake. A pretty little lake. Not the best of the alpine lakes I've ever been to, but not bad. If it wasn't for the trail running right by it, I'd say probably don't bother, but that could also just be because it's an 80-degree day and the trail getting here sucked, but that's okay. So, oh, this is a campsite. I side schmingled away from the main trail. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I went down the wrong way. Damn, something bit me. That's not the campsite. Trail I came in from is over here. So yeah, I mean, if it was a cooler, nicer day, I'd probably have nicer things to say about Little Rainbow Lake, but day is kind of crummy, too hot, so I don't. That direction is Mason Lake and the Iris Spring Trailhead. Maybe when we go to Mason Lake and or Mountain Defiance, we'll come this far just to say we did it all, and maybe not. And now we have a probably half-mile trek to go back to the junction and then turn a right to Island Lake and then hang out at Island Lake. And Island Lake is supposed to be bigger, deeper, and prettier, so I will hopefully get a swim in and a longer hangout along the lake. See you there. Alright, with these signs, toilet and campfires prohibited, means that we have all but arrived, and I can see lake and I can see tent. So we will try to continue on to the left around the lake, or we'll be in shade and try to avoid the tent. Oh, the tent looks like it's on this spur. I can hear a boisterous outlet stream further to my left as it drops 2,000 feet down to Talapis Lake. So let's go find ourselves a spot. Oh, it's rocks over there. Which means the chilling might not be wonderful. Well, I thought it was a tent. Maybe it was just a rock. Maybe it was just a rock. Maybe I'm gonna look out and have the whole place to myself. Because this point looks perfect to hang out on and shoot from. So I guess we'll go investigate this point. Yeah, that's a rock. I thought it was a tent. Looks like good tenting spots here. Oh my. Oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh my, oh my, oh me. Let's go quickly confirm that you're not gonna go step on anybody's toes while sticking your nose out here. Oh, shit. Holy shit. The idea initially would be to go sit over there and be in the shade. But let's see what our options are first. And it's called Island Lake because, as you can see, there's a couple of dot islands of rock out here. And I like to find a shady spot because it is kind of hot. Those rocks might be my best option to bushwhack over there. Unless I can get in the shade of this tree here off to my right. Oh my god. Pair of fish jumping. More than a pair of fish jumping. Tiny little fish jump there. Yeah. Yeah. He's just cruising the shore right here. Let's see if we can... Sorry, I farted. He should be coming around right here. Uh-oh, he stopped. No, there he is. That's all the bigger you were? Oh no, the big one turned back. And they're hungry. You might actually get to catch some fish today too. Oh, that dude turned around. Where'd he go? Alright, well, I think that rock over there is going to be my best bet because there's not a lot of shade over here. Yeah, I think my best bet's going to be over there. Damn. This is a nice freaking lake. Nash is going to be upset he didn't come to this one. Lots of fish of various sizes. Oh yeah, we're going to go sit over there. And this GoPro battery is about to die, so we'll see how far we get. But we're aiming for that shady rock there. Do a little reading, do a little swimming, do a little fly fishing. Probably do the fly fishing first. Read for a little bit, get a long exposure of just the lake. Reset batteries, fly fish, and then swim. Oh yeah. I knew this was going to be the better spot. And I also knew if I went to Rainbow Lake first, I wasn't gonna, or if I would have went to this lake first, I wasn't gonna leave. So it's a good thing I went to Rainbow Lake first, which was a nice little lake in its own right, but it ain't holding a candle to this. This is big boy time. Oh yeah. Let's see how much of a pain in the ass it's gonna be to get over there. I don't think it will be. I hope it won't be, because that's gonna be the primo spot, sitting in the rocks in the shade. Here's another decently good camp spot. And rocks are big, which makes them generally easier to scamper about. Hell, you could just sit here on this rock and be in the shade for a while and scout from here. Nope, the sun's gonna be out. Oh, this is a really pretty spot though. Need to tuck in right over there where the sun rotates into, and you'll have shade. That rock probably isn't going to move, and I'm probably not going to slip, but it's still gonna give me the willies doing this with one hand, and nobody around has backup. Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, early summer, early season, or when it's cool, that would be a sweet spot to hang out at, but not in the sun today. Today is not that day. Alright, so somewhere in here is where you want to tuck yourself in, because the sun's going to continue going that way. So yeah, somewhere in this jumble of rocks is where you want to tuck yourself in. Find yourself a nice flat-ish rock like this spot. Oh yeah, that's gonna be in shade for a while. Put the GoPro somewhere in here in front of me. Can fish off that rock, can swim off that rock. Fuck yeah, YouTube, this is the spot. Welcome to Island Lake. Oh, that was a hit. Okay. That was not in view of the camera. If you're going to stay there, pardon my reach, I'm casting out here. Maybe get something. Already had one hit. You come up fast. Little bastards. Camouflage so well, the water is so deep. Shoot, I think something big. Oh! Someone came up and hit it. It missed. Hit it. Even if fish. Let's do one little fish. One little fish. Wave to the YouTube over there. Perfectly. Come on. Some spots you get to, you really don't want to leave. This is one of them. Although the worst part has been trying to chase this shade around these trees for the last 4 hours, and I am well and truly out of shade, and if I want shade, I either need to be over there or over there now. And even then, there's not much opportunity. So I think my welcome is now well and truly extinguished, and it's time to boogie on back. But Island Lake, it's a pretty freaking nice lake. It may not be the top down prettiest lake in the Alpine Lakes wilderness, but being just that much more isolated. Here, let's do this. Let's see if we can get a screen. Let's see if we can get a decent. Bang. Hopefully that's good enough. May not be number one on the Alpine Lakes. That probably still goes to far and away Snow Lake. But I bet it's top 5 for me. It probably goes Snow Lake, Surprise Lake, and then Snow Lake, Glacier Lake, Surprise Lake, and everybody else. But Island Lake ain't that far behind. But when you throw on top of it its raw isolation, being a 12-mile hike from either trailhead and off the main trail, I'm going to quickly come down here and see if there's, I bet there's a decent waterfall down here, and I just missed out on a freaking waterfall. Good luck getting to it. That'll be if we ever come back and I bring Nash or Dad, we'll go take a look at it. But yeah, I'd say throw in the combined isolation of it compared to most other of the major lakes in the wilderness, especially this close to I-90. It's pretty damn good. So now we got to go short set of steep switchbacks. Try saying that 5 times fast. Up to the top of this stupid ass saddle, and then back down those same set of switchbacks on the other side. Somebody left a towel. It's kind of a crappy swimming spot, but another thumbnail. Somewhere in there. I have learned to be able to take screenshots frame by frame now. So if there's anything good in that inspection, I can get it. This is a cool spot to hang out though. Especially if you want to sit in the sun, sit on that log and enjoy the whole lake all day. Be a sick spot. What am I gonna do with this towel? Let's go hide in the shade. Figure a way to put this towel in your backpack quickly. Ow. Where the heck? Oh, I need to be on the other side of the big rock. But yeah, I'd say with its relative isolation compared to most other of the major alpine lakes, it's a sweet spot. Now we gotta go up, short, steep, come down, short, steep, and then by the time we make it to Pratt Saddle and back to the Pratt Lake Trail, it'll be a smooth descent from there. So I guess I will see you sometime later for the outro. So really quick, YouTube, you know how I said there's supposed to be thunderstorms east of the Cascades this afternoon, and that's why we didn't go do crap, now I'm distracted. So we didn't go to Lake Caroline. Yeah, that's a big old line of thunderclouds, and I've been listening to it rumble for the 2 minutes I've had you off. What I got distracted by was A, there's Talapas Lake 2,000 feet below us and probably 3 miles of trail below us. And then B, as I was looking at the thunderstorms, you ain't gonna be able to pick it out, but through the trees over there up top, that bald mountaintop is Granite Mountain, and I can see the fire lookout up there. So pretty neat. Also, there's a couple of absolutely beautifully bucolic lily pad ponds between here and the main trail. So it's time to hustle ass down the mountain, and I am enjoying the scenery in all bits in all directions. I'll hold that so you can look at that one, and then there's 2 more up here that we may or may not see. We should. It's only like, I'm gonna leave this on, it's only like a 1/4 mile back to the main trail. That way you can see what the access trail looks like. But there's Talapas Lake way down there, and again, it's kind of a halfway decent view through the trees that the GoPro won't pick up of the fire lookout of Granite Mountain. We'll visit both those on later dates sometime. Talapas and Alali Lakes will probably be a solo trip, and then Granite Mountain is a certified death march that I'd like to do with at least Nash, if not Nash and my father. And then this talus slope up here. Oh, that mosquito had already been sucking on me. And then this talus slope up in front of us, that's actually Pratt Mountain, not what I pointed out back near the Pratt Saddle. That's some unnamed high point. Real Pratt Mountain is right there. Swampy, swampy, swampy stuff. Those flowers have already bloomed and let out their cottony seed balls things. I have no idea what they are because I am not a botanist. I am a geologist, so I can tell you how the rocks formed and how the mountains formed, but I can't tell you a lot about the plants growing on the mountains. I mean, I've got a decent knowledge base, but it's not amazing. Here's the other lily pond. Look at that. Ain't that just perfect? If we were in the Midwest or the East Coast, or hell, even in most of the Rocky Mountains, there'd be a good bet you'd be stumbling into a moose nearby. But the Cascades just don't have enough of the correct topography to support enough of the good marshlands for mooses. Not in the Cascades, at least. Go out even to the Okanagan Highlands, which are a baby range jutting out from the Rocky Mountains in the northeast corner of the state, and there's lots of mooses. Oh shit! Sorry, Tarma Chicken. Hope you didn't have any babies. This is the... no idea what that is, but that's what I'm talking about. She is probably tucked herself around the tree and is long gone. But there's another lily pond pad there. And I mean, that's just ridiculous. I gotta stop and actually get a real video of that, or a real picture of that. And then screw it, we're gonna get a short of this too. Yeah, I know, you don't go off trail, but you know, this has already been beat down by enough people. one of a handful of lily pad ponds between the main Granite Mountain Trail and along the spur trail to Island Lake. The humidity has gone up too with the approaching thunderstorms. It's supposed to be a noisy wet night, or at least a noisy night and a pretty wet night tonight too in the mountains. So hopefully it's more rain than fire starting, but we shall see. That's a big one. All right, time to boogie. All right, this area is going to be equal bits easy to talk through in the most scenic portion of the trail. Maybe, if not left, but the whole trail maybe. So I'm going to do the outro here. We're somewhere about half mile yet to get to Pratt Saddle, but whatever. So thank you for joining us on this Cooley Outdoors adventure where we ran the Pratt Lake Trail. It might just be called the Pratt Trail, but Pratt Lake Trail and the Mount Defiance trails to Rainbow and Island Lakes. And I shot video of both lakes, and I fished in Island Lake, and I swam in Island Lake. If you like this adventure, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this adventure, give it a thumbs down. Either way, please leave a comment down below on what you did or did not like so that I can improve for next time. All right, ratings. Start with accessibility, difficulty, and enjoyment. Accessibility, it's less than an hour outside of Seattle driving east on I-90, and then from there it's a short paved road to a paved trailhead that will clog up quickly on weekends. So accessibility, 5 stars. Difficulty, well, at the end of the day, I have gained 3,000 feet going one direction. I will have gained 400 feet and then have to drop that 3,000 feet going the other direction. It's probably going to end up being near a 14-mile day if I think about it. Somewhere around a 12-mile day. We'll know when we get to Pratt Saddle, because it's 4.5 miles to Pratt Saddle, because I didn't look down exactly what it was, but I know it was somewhere around 6, so it'll probably be a little more than that. So 6 each direction, plus going out to Island Lake and back. So we'll call it somewhere around 13 miles probably, and 3 hours one way and probably 2.5 hours the other direction. So yeah, I mean, this was a hard hike. There wasn't any particularly steep or exposed sections. There was a couple of, and there was an annoying set of switchbacks going up and down along the shoulder of Pratt Mountain back there, but otherwise it's been a fairly smooth, even grade. It's just a fairly long slog. So I think I'm going to give it a full 4 stars. Enjoyment. The lower portion of the forest, especially below the, well, yeah, some of it was fairly pretty, but below the Talapasalali Junction, and especially below the Pratt Saddle, was kind of meh, kind of hit and miss. Once you get up here and you start getting into the thinner air above 4,000 feet, it got progressively better and better. Rainbow Lake was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't a boring, dried out lake like the one adventure I've had into the lakes, the plateau there north of White Pass, but I think I did that at the wrong time of year. Problem is, at the right time of year to do that, it's bug ridden, so I don't know.
Anyway, it wasn't a terrible lake, but it wasn't nothing right special about. Island Lake, on the other hand, yeah, I would say just go ahead and either skip Rainbow completely or just go over it to say you saw it and did it, and then immediately turn around and go to Island Lake and spend your time at Island Lake. Island Lake was sweet. That is a solid 8 out of 10 lake. Why is it not a 10 out of 10? Well, it's kind of green instead of blue. It's still clear, but it's a little greeny versus a little bluey. The shade and accessibility along the lake is a little questionable, but it's a big lake, it's a deep lake, it's a beautiful lake. Again, it just isn't the perfect see-through blue color, and the scenery around the lake and the accessibility around the lake isn't perfect, but it's still a very good lake. So I'd say overall enjoyment, I'd say a solid 4 stars. I only interacted with 2 people all day, and I'm pretty sure I saw another pair of people in front of me when I was nearing the Pratt saddle, but I think they went down to Pratt Lake. So less than half a dozen people. Granted, it is a Wednesday, but we are on an I-90 corridor lake hike, so this is some of the most popular things to do in the entire state, and seeing less than half a dozen people, it's also a good in my book. Let's do actual measurements. Like I said earlier, it's probably going to be 13 miles round trip when it's all said and done. Gained just under 3,000 feet coming in, then had to gain 400 feet on the way out, and then drop all the way back down to the trailhead. Took me 3 hours to get to the lakes, and it's going to take me probably about 2.5 hours to get back to the lakes, mainly because the switchbacks, I was hot and exposed and tired and getting there. Oh, I see people coming this direction. Speaking of, or thought I did. Maybe it was imagination. So I'd say 6 hours round trip, not including time hanging out the lake. So yeah, what's next? Well, if no other house buying snafus rear their head, Mom, Dad, and I, Mom will be staying in the car. There's people going down the Pratt Trail, heading down back towards the cars. Mom, Dad, and I will be going to Pilchuck, Kelsema Lake, Big Four Ice Caves, and Barlow Point. Whether or not we have time for all of it, I cannot tell you for sure, but that is the plan. I will guarantee you that Dad and I will do Mount Pilchuck, and we should have time to at least go to Kelsema Lake, and should have time to also go to Big Four Mountain and recreate the video Nash and I shot. And we snowshoed there a couple winters ago, and probably hike up to close to the base of the mountain into the ice caves. And then on Sunday, if things continue to go well, we are doing a big boy hike. Nash will be available. He was originally supposed to take this week off from work and join me and have all big boy hikes, but he works at a golf course, and it is the biggest golf tournament of the year this weekend, on starting tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. So he had to be there all week to make sure the rounds were perfect, because duh. So if it would have been any other week, we've been out here all week, but I really didn't have any other time to do it in July, because people at my work were taking off weeks before this and weeks after this. So this was the one week this month I could do it, and we can't do it next month because we're already going to be gone for a week and a half to Yellowstone. Which brings us to our next thing. Hopefully, the goal is to go on enough adventures and shoot enough things this week on hike week to where I'll have enough content to roll us straight into Yellowstone. Obviously, if opportunity arises and I can go get on a hike, or maybe even 2 hikes between hike week and Yellowstone, then hell yeah. But I'm hoping I will have enough content, and I'll be able to get all the videos done and enough content done and completed that will just roll straight from hike week into Yellowstone with little to no interruption. And today's because I'm probably not going to Franklin Falls at this point if I'm not going to get back to Rex till like 6 p.m. Probably won't bother going to Franklin Falls. Oh, I think it's the Forest Service Trail Crew. So this will be, I think, 6 videos today. Hopefully another 10 to 12 videos on Friday, and then depending on what all we see and do up Cascade Pass, which I didn't even say it was Cascade Pass. And that's probably a number 5 overall hike in Washington for us to go do. So, and between that, so we should end up with another maybe half dozen hikes from Cascade Pass. So we'll end up with hopefully 20 to 25 videos out of these 3 days of hike week. And then that'll just hopefully roll us almost, if not all the way into Yellowstone. And then there'll be hopefully shitloads and shitloads of content between my 2 GoPros, Mom and Dad's GoPro, and then Jared is supposed to be lending me his GoPro too, so I can be shooting multiple things at once if need be. Because I'm planning for one of the days while we're in Yellowstone is to just go around Old Faithful and the Old Faithful area and shoot a dozen, hopefully, or more geothermal features. But that's enough yakking about the future. What am I at for the outro? Jesus Christ, 10 minutes for this outro. Sorry, guys. Oh well. So yeah, that's the plan. Got a couple more adventures for hike week, and then maybe you can post hole, pick one in between now and Yellowstone, and then we're off to Yellowstone. And then from then on, I've got ideas, but fluid situation with buying a house. So until then, I will see you next time, and ciao. That slope is going to be hot now. Well, it's pretty well shaded over there, so it might not be.